Hello and welcome to our daily news show, The Big Story, where we bring you the hottest topics of the day right here in the heart of the newsroom. My name is Alyssa Wu and I'm coming to you live from the Straits Times. We are streaming live right now on Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, do subscribe to our channel and click that bell button so you'll be notified whenever we go live. I'll be joined very shortly by my newsroom colleagues where we'll discuss the topics that got you talking today. Now, the recent spate of PMD-related fires has prompted the government to bring forward the PMD safety certification deadline from the end of next year to July 1st, 2020. Now, PMD here stands for Personal Mobility Devices. In the meantime, what PMD users can do is to make sure they are charging their batteries correctly. To share more about this, I have tech correspondent Ko Ping with me. Hi, Ko Ping.
Hi.
Right. So lithium-ion batteries, which are used in PMDs, can also be found in our phones and our laptops, right? So even if we're not a PMD user, we can't just say like, oh, it doesn't concern me.
No. It's the same type of batteries actually.
So what causes that battery to catch fire or explode?
It's mainly due to overheating. So what happens is that, well, according to experts, the pressure quickly builds up inside the battery when it's overheated, and then it may burst the battery casing. And the electrolytes in the battery are actually flammable. So when they escape and interact with the air, it causes explosion, fires, so on and so forth.
I see. Now, having said that, there is a much lower chance of the battery in your smartphone exploding. So can you tell us why is it more risky for PMD batteries?
It's due to the harsh conditions the batteries in the PMDs are subject to. So for your mobile phones, your laptops, or your other electronic devices, you actually put it on a table, put it in your bag, or put it in your pockets most of the time. But for the batteries in a PMD, they are found usually they are found under the devices. And these PMDs actually, travel on the road, right? And sometimes they speed. And when they travel at fast speed on the roads, the batteries actually undergo a lot of vibration. So this vibration will affect the internal and the physical connections inside the batteries, causing them to short circuit.
Right. So currently right now, there's still a risk of consumers buying batteries that have not passed the safety test. So in the event that they do, what can consumers do?
So basically, Enterprise Singapore will step in to deal with products that have not passed the safety test to warn the retailers or the manufacturers about that. But in most cases, it's actually a consumer problem or consumer situation. So the consumers can go to case. They can help consumers negotiate with the errant retailer and advise the consumers on their rights under the law. But again, case can only do so much because they are a non-profit organization that doesn't have much power, so to speak. We have another body which protects the consumers, which is called the Competition and Consumer Commission of Singapore. So they take on the cases of all these recalcitrant errant retailers, but they also don't have the powers to seek compensation on the behalf of the consumers, actually.
So it sounds like there are quite a few limitations here. So in your personal opinion, what more do you think can be done?
Well, legal experts say that this Competition and Consumer Commission of Singapore, since now they are taking on the mandate of consumer protection, there's a need for this body to have expanded powers that will allow it to prosecute errant retailers. Well, they also say that Singapore can do more for the consumers by introducing amendments to the law to empower consumers to mount product liability claims. So most of the goods that are sold in Singapore are actually imported goods. So it's also important that the consumers be empowered to claim directly against the retailers and the distributors of the products. Especially with the rise of e-commerce, a lot of people are buying online. So these rules should also specifically apply to online retail of goods in Singapore.
So earlier we were discussing, actually a lot of users, actually myself included, we have very bad phone charging habits or battery charging habits. Could you walk us through some things that we're doing now that which we shouldn't be doing?
Yeah, you shouldn't, first off, you shouldn't be talking on the phone while you're charging it. Second, you shouldn't leave the phone charging overnight.
Why? Why can't I use the phone to call someone while it's charging?
Okay, so it's got to do with the science and the chemistry. So when you charge the phone, the battery basically, the electrolytes go in one direction. But when you use the phone, the electrolytes gets discharged in the opposite direction. So naturally, there could possibly be some reaction when the electrolytes travel in both opposite directions. So just try not to use your devices when you're charging them. And it's the same for charging them, overcharging them. So when you leave it charging beyond like several hours, maybe a couple of hours that's needed for charging your phone, then again there's a risk of the battery overcharging, overheating, and causing the battery to bulge or the casing to burst, and then the electrolytes escape, and then you have a fire.
So speaking of fires, I understand lithium-ion batteries, they do have a heat limit.
Right. So the experts actually told me that 55 degrees is the limit. So again, please don't leave your devices under the hot sun or near heating devices. That again could damage the battery and cause problems.
And then also it goes without saying, when you charge your PMD, charge it in an open space, not an enclosed space.
Yes, that's right.
Right. So thank you so much, Koping, for sharing advice on, I guess, proper charging habits. Right. Now on to our second segment. If you've ever wondered what it's like to be a professional athlete, then stay tuned to the premiere of a new video series by the Straits Times Sport Desk. The series is called The Pro and will follow 6 athletes from various sports in their journey. The first episode with local pro boxer Muhammad Ridwan will be out on August 17, Saturday. To share more about this series, I have here with me Assistant Sports Editor Rohit. Hi Rohit again.
Hey, hi, nice.
Always a pleasure to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. So how did the idea for the series come about?
Look, I mean, you know, professionalism in sport has been there for some time, but it's not something that has been big in Singapore because it's not easy for athletes to go out there and make a living. But we are finding that basically there are some athletes who are doing that, going out to different countries in different sports, making a living out of it, and it's tough. And I think, you know, what we wanted to do is talk about these people, show that it's possible, write about their great struggles. You know, every week it's hard. If you don't play well, you're not going to earn. You don't earn. You know, sometimes you can't pay your bills. So it's really tough. And I think, you know, we know this is an old story that Singapore is an academic nation or whatever, but we want to show that there are other possibilities, there are other ways that you can make a living. Some people want to be doctors and they want to be lawyers, and that's great, or TV stars, but some people want to go out and play sport for a living, and you're showing it can be done.
Maybe I'm quite interested in hearing about the limitations for professional athletes here in the Singapore sports scene. Maybe you could elaborate on what you've just mentioned, how hard it is. So what are the obstacles that you face?
Well, I think the first thing is that there are certain sports where you just find it very difficult to be a pro athlete. For example, yesterday I was texting a kayaker, a young woman who is a very, very good kayaker, Stephanie Chen actually. And she was saying that, you know, in kayaking, you don't really have a lot of prize money. I know in shooting, for example, target shooting, which Jasmine Sir does, for instance, you know, you can't make money. So those sort of sports, you're just doing it for love of the game, for your personal best, maybe winning a medal, and you don't get a lot of applause, you definitely don't make money. But I think there are other sports, basketball, because you have smaller leagues around here. We have a player, Wei Long, who's in Indonesia. He's play for a club there. You can play football, like Haris Arun is playing in Malaysia. Swimming, you can do it vis-a-vis in the sense that, you know, Joseph Schooling, you win an Olympic medal, you get sponsors. So I think tennis players, which we don't have, of course, but boxers, Ridwan, I mean, you know, it's a tough life. But you can do it in some sports.
And this is how the team also decided on the 6 sports to feature.
Yeah, so we were looking around and seeing, you know, which are the sort of athletes which make it. So, you know, you have Fang Chenwei, who's a table tennis player, and, you know, they can play for clubs, and, you know, they get prize money, so you can make money there. Golf is another sport where you can make money, but it all depends on how good you are. So it can be Everybody looks at people like Federer or whatever who are earning millions of dollars, but most people, it's a struggle week to week, but it's possible to earn a living. But there's a tremendous commitment that they make. And I think there's a great strength of character in committing yourself to this quest. And I think that's the journey that we want to show.
So when you're working with the team on this series, so I understand you're doing one episode with Joseph Schooling?
I'm doing one with Joseph, yeah.
Very soon. So you haven't done that yet, but so far, has there been anything that has moved you or surprised you?
Well, I think it's the really, really small things. I can tell you two quick stories. I think with Joseph, I did have a chat with him a little while ago. Now, this seems like a really tiny thing, but he was telling me a story. One thing you have to understand is the end of the day, like for somebody like Joseph, you're like exhausted. I remember Michael Phelps once telling me about how he did a workout and the only thing he could do was just lie down and sleep. They are exhausted. And Joseph has to do a lot of his own things. So he's talking about sometimes at night he is so exhausted, but he still knows that he has to eat something. He will get up, he will go to the kitchen, he will make himself his protein shake. So I think it's about doing the little things that make you good. And that's part of being the professional life, just doing all the little things. But I think the best story that I've heard in all this, which is told to me by my colleague Sazali, who did the story on Ridwan, which is out tomorrow, is on in his wallet, Ridwan still carries a small crumpled piece of paper, which is his first paycheck from a boxing bout of $55. That was his prize money. That's so small, but he still keeps it. I think a reminder of what he does and maybe a reminder of how far he's come.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for those two stories, Rohit.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So once again, the first episode will be out on August 17, and you can look out for it on the straitstimes.com website, or Facebook or YouTube pages. Now for our last segment, on August 18, which is this Sunday, the National Day Rally will be broadcast live on television. Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong will outline the government's upcoming plans and priorities. He will speak in Malay and Mandarin from 6:45 to 7:30 p.m. and in English from 8:15 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. If you're not able to catch it on television for any reason, don't worry. Here at the Straits Times, we'll be doing a news update of the key issues that PM Lee will be covering. To share more about the upcoming coverage, I have here with me political correspondent Rachel. Hi, Rachel.
Hi.
So can you share briefly what sort of coverage viewers can expect?
Okay, so just so that everyone's clear, the National Day Rally is the most important speech of the year. It's where the government highlights all the priorities, the main priorities that's coming the next financial year, and it's something that people will want to look for because it shows where we're headed to, at least for the next year. This will be PM Lee Hsien Loong's 16th NDR, so that's pretty exciting. The Straits Times does have you covered as far as issues are, as far as coverage goes, right? The first thing, of course, if you can spare the amount of time to watch it, we watch it live. We have it on the Straits Times website. If you don't have time, to spend 2 hours in front of your television or in front of your desktop, that's where the live blog comes in. So the live blog will be feeding you little bits and pieces here and there. For those people who want to get a bit of the video experience, we have that. I will be doing a couple of videos summarizing some of the topics. And already we know, based on the National Day message that he gave, on National Day, that PM will be talking about climate change, about looking at the re-employment age, and he will also want to talk about the preschool and university thing. So I'm looking forward to those announcements, and I hope to be able to present these announcements in bite-sized videos. Of course, the Straits Times being primarily still or at least still coming out of print news coverage, we are going to have the analysis, and I think that's where we can count on our senior reporters and our correspondents to come up with great coverage and analysis on that. So we'll have that, of course, in print and obviously also on digital. And at the end of this, if you still need a wrap-up, we have a newsletter that's coming up. And I know that people must be so tired of us plugging our own things, but the Straits Times is on all the channels, right? All the social media, Facebook, WhatsApp, Telegram, you name it, we've got it. Yeah. So I think we are prepared. There's a whole team working on Sunday, and I'm looking forward, together with the rest of the team, to see what's coming up and how we can present it to the rest of Singaporeans.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I'm really looking forward to your coverage. You've certainly given us a very good brief overview of what to expect. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay. So for the newsletter that she was talking about, you can access it here at this link. Do sign up for the newsletter. And as she mentioned earlier, there will be a live blog and tweets on the rally itself on straitstimes.com. Now, if you have any questions about the rally, all the policies, do feel free to leave them in our comment section here below, and the team will keep them in mind when they do the videos, right? To read up on the upcoming National Day rally, remember to log on to our website. Now, those were our top stories for the day. Thank you for joining us. For more news and videos, do log on to straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm Melissa. See you on Monday for another week of The Big Story.